Imagine you are one of the world leaders sitting in the very room where history is made. What kind of world would you envision? What kind of challenges would you face? And more importantly, how would you lead? These are big questions, and here's why. The world is full of uncertainty. Gone is a time when one country can easily shape the international order. The world is changing. The United States is no longer the sole superpower that can predominantly determine the course of international politics. Power is diffusing. China and India are rising, expanding their influences in their regions and beyond. Russia, despite its economic struggle and ongoing war, remains a strong military power, particularly with their massive nuclear arsenal. And the middle powers, like Japan, Brazil, and Germany, are stepping up to play an important role in shaping international narrative and regional rules and norms. This moment in history is critical. Throughout history, when a rising power challenges a dominant one, tensions arise. Sometimes these tensions explode into the war. Oftentimes, they reshape the international order peacefully, or at least without conflicts. And today, we are witnessing exactly that, a power transition between the United States and China. The United States has long been the architect of global rules, particularly since the end of the Cold War, when it was the most powerful country after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And now, China is rising. China's military, economic, technological capabilities, as well as its diplomatic influence, are growing rapidly. And from time to time, China shows its intention to lead the world. But despite its long-term ambitions, China is not fully ready to take on that role. So where does this leave us today? Usually, when a dominant, the rising power challenges the dominant countries, then there's going to be more the conflictual situations. And as I said, the world is becoming more and more unstable. And we are actually witnessing this, and we are actually seeing some of the symptoms in the world. For example, in the Middle East, tensions and conflicts like the Koga conflict conflicts are tearing the region apart. And also in the Europe, the Ukraine war actually has disrupted global security and food supply chains and the energy markets. And everywhere, great powers are competing through economic pressures, military expansions, and also the strategic alliances. And in response, other countries are doing what we expect. They are looking inward. And governments are focusing on their own security, their own economy, and their own stability. And this makes sense, right? Uncertainty breeds the fear, and in uncertain periods, they want to focus on their own survival. Leaders actually focusing on their own survival. But here's the problem. When everybody looks out for themselves, then the world becomes increasingly and dangerously fragmented. And this is a global trend we are seeing now. And at the same time, we have been dependent on the so-called global public good. The global public good is something like this. Let's say if one country is hit by a massive natural disaster, be it earthquake, be it a flood, be it a typhoon, then usually other countries step in, providing and sending economic assistance to prevent economic crisis and also social stability that could actually spill over across the world. So this is a public good. And then this is something that keeps the world stable. And why is this important? Because in the interconnected world, the stability anywhere actually benefits everyone. So it ensures global economic prosperity, security, and peace. So this is why that matters. Historically, the great powers have been providing those kind of public goods. But what happens if they stop caring? What if they decide and say, I don't care anymore, it's not my problem? Then we would be confronted with the world of instability. We are not going to have the stable world anymore. And then this is not the speculation. Actually, this has happened before. Economic historian Charles Kindleberger once studied this negative trend. When great power decline and stop providing the public goods, and no one else steps up to fill the vacuum, then the world is going into the disorder. And this is so-called Kindleberger trap. And last time it happened, it was the 1930s. Great Britain or the United Kingdom, once the world leader, was in decline. The United States was rising, but it was not ready to take up the order. And no one else filled the vacuum. Results: global economic collapse, protectionism, and trade wars. And eventually, World War II. So we are actually seeing the echoes of this today. The government is reluctant to provide global public goods or to lead because they fear the so-called free riders. They are actually afraid of being exploited by those free riders who don't actually provide the public goods, but at the same time, they actually get the benefit out of the public goods. And they don't want actually contribute because it goes to the situation where the great powers or the countries get exploited in a system where no world government exists to enforce international law or hold the violators accountable. So this is a really bad situation for the international community. But this is not inevitable. This is not inevitable. We are not doomed to repeat history. Unlike 1930s, we have something different. That is great power. Of course, the countries like Japan, Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, Canada, Australia, and Brazil cannot dominate the world alone. But together, they could actually come up with the idea and shape the global rules and maintain stability. So this is the something different. And then this is where the new types of the leadership comes in. We have to rethink what global leadership means. It's not about one country calling the shots. It's about collaboration. It's about many countries stepping up together to create rules, set norms, and maintain stability and prevent chaos. So how do we do this? We need what I call creative multilateralism. That means building coalitions instead of waiting for the one single great power to lead. Strengthening institutions such as G20 and ASEAN to ensure international dialogue and also cooperation. Creating global frameworks that could tackle most pressing issues in the world today, such as climate change, trade, cybersecurity, and also the global health. To do this, we need to take action. And yes, the world is complex, and yes, the power is shifting, but it's not an excuse for inaction. The global order is not something that we passively accept. It's something we need to shape, and we shape. So once again, let me ask you, if you are one of the world leaders, what kind of world would you envision? And most importantly, what kind of world do we need? Thank you.